So, in a landmark opiate trial, an Oklahoma judge ordered Johnson & Johnson to pay for contributing to the opiate crisis. Right now in America, we realize we have a problem with addictions, with people being on drugs, and we're holding people accountable. Johnson & Johnson, a pharmaceutical company. Matter of fact, Purdue Pharma just offered $12 billion to settle these opiate cases. We also know that CEOs have been indicted and sentenced for jail, because America wants to do something about its problem with opiates. I'm all for that. I think that we should always do whatever we can to treat the problem. But the problem is that it gets to be called something different when it doesn't look like what you think a drug addict looks like. When it was crack or alcohol, something like that, weed, we can send them to jail. I remember after Trump took office, they had a memorial at the White House, a temporary memorial for the victims of the opiate crisis. Do you know what they build for people for the weed crisis, which actually never was a crisis, but for the crack crisis? Prisons. So if somebody is addicted and it is in fact a sickness and that's how we're going to treat it, we should start letting people out of jail. If you're arresting people for contributing to a certain disease, if you're arresting people for profiting off of it, then and I agree with it, and we should all call it the same thing. A sickness is a sickness. Why does it look so different than when your drug dealer looks different than mine? Right now, I remember the president talking about how these people are bringing in illegal drugs and we need to build a wall to protect the border. We need to build those walls around our pharmacists. They look different because their collars are different. They're different colors. Instead of a white T-shirt, they wear collars, but they're still complicit in the same thing. But it is the way that this country chooses to look at them. If it's somebody else besides us, then it's through no fault of their own. Somebody else to blame. It wasn't a personal choice. But us, it's personal responsibility. Right now, marijuana is legal, and several hundreds of thousands of people are still in jail. While people are finding a way to profit off marijuana, the very thing they're sentenced for, they're still in jail. If you ever had a marijuana charge and that was on your record, that should be off now. If you can make money off of it, if it's a sickness, you shouldn't have it on there now. If you're arresting the people who are addicted, I remember reading a report, and there are more opiate pills in a town in West Virginia than actual people. And the country is deciding to hold them accountable for that. One group is met with compassion. One group is met with criminality. One group you can only handle this way. One group we handle with love and therapy and finding the root of the problem. I think they're all the same. I think regardless of what you're addicted to, if we're going to treat people in a way that we use compassion and other resources, we should do it across the board. If you're addicted to something and it was your personal choice or your doctor or whatever excuse you make, that's the same thing applies to a lot of people that are locked up right now. But the truth is, the one thing that was good about the fact that racism and bias exist in the medical field is that it helped us not have the numbers that we're addicted to, because they believe that we were more impervious to pain. Doctors believe that black women and black people didn't feel as much pain, or that we didn't have insurance. So thank God for racism, or we might be in the same plight you are. But I was saying that facetiously. The bottom line is, if you can be compassionate about one addiction, you should be compassionate about the other. Whatever addiction you have is compassionate. Whatever addiction we have is criminal. And that just can't be the way it is. If you're going to start arresting people who have played part and been complicit and addicted in America to drugs, we should have compassion for people who are in the penitentiary system now because of drugs. Why is it that when you do it, it is a crisis? When I do it, it's a crime.